comes to churches, sorry, we're having some technical difficulties with Trisha. Churches are one of the things that are opening, tattoo parlors as well. But when it comes to churches, many plan to reopen after Governor Ducey sent out new guidelines. Now, churches, they really don't have any mandated social distancing requirements, but as always, you're encouraged to stay home if you're sick, and if you do plan to attend a church service, you should still maintain that 6-foot distance from others. Now, if you're 65 years or older, you're still advised to stay at home. Volunteers and church employees are encouraged to wear face masks. And when it comes to indoor and outdoor shopping malls, those are also planning to reopen. Some did reopen last Friday, but many more this upcoming weekend as we begin to open the floodgates in a way, including some big ones like Arrowhead Town Center, Chandler Fashion Center, Paradise Valley Mall, and Scottsdale Fashion Square. But do not expect all of the stores inside these malls to be open. It'll be a slow process. There'll be social distancing measures in place, and commonly used areas will be sanitized as well. And then finally, those tattoo parlors, if you need to get your ink, another business is set to reopen this weekend. Tattoo shops are allowed to open on Saturday as part of the governor's new Stay Healthy, Return Smarter, Return Stronger executive order. That goes into effect midnight on Friday after the stay-at-home order. Now, coming up at 5:30, Trisha will map out when the state's biggest tourist destinations like the Grand Canyon, when those places are going to begin opening, and when you can tube down the Salt River just in time for these hot summer months.